Hi, I'm Ingrid Maynard, and you're listening to The Sales Revolution. The sales landscape has absolutely changed. So what I wanted to share with you today were three things that I believe sales leaders and sales people need to focus on if they want to be successful. Those three things are pipeline, big surprise there, two, being able to drive the process, and the third one is activity levels and technique. And I'll explain why we need each of those three as I dive into them. So let's look at the first one, which is pipeline. Snoresville, people go, oh, pipeline. Oh, do we really have to talk about pipeline? Salespeople in particular, mainly because pipeline has been used as a weapon of choice by sales leaders to dong them on the head and make them feel terrible about their lack of activity. That's generally how they're used, which is terribly unfortunate because it's actually one of the best tools that any sales leader worth their salt can have in their armory if they know how to lead those conversations well. The other thing is that then when those conversations are led well, a salesperson can use their own pipeline to really crystallize their focus as well. So it's a real shame. And I think that it doesn't have to be like that. So when I talk about pipeline, one of the first fundamentals to make sure that you're managing pipeline well is that each person's sales pipeline should be a multiple, based on their conversion rate, a multiple of what their sales target is. And for the year, so that let's just say it's $1 million, just for round numbers, and they've got a 20% conversion rate, typically, they'd need about $5 million consistently in their pipeline to make sure that they're going to hit their target. And what that means is that they need to be, when an opportunity drops out of the pipeline because they've either lost it, it's actually not an opportunity, or they've won it, so it becomes a client, then it needs to be replaced. But it needs to be replaced to the value. So rather than it just be one client for one opportunity, it really needs to be replaced for the value that it's contributing to the overall value of the pipeline. So that's the first fundamental. So if I was a sales leader and I'm looking first and foremost at where to start with those pipeline conversations, I'd be looking at the total value of my team's pipeline and identifying, number one, have we got enough in there? And if we don't, I would be strongly suggesting that they go out there and, hunt hard. And that's not easy. So I'll get to that in our third point, which is activity and technique in a moment. But that's definitely where to start. If there's enough in the pipeline, then you do a deeper dive on the stages. And where you need to really focus is, have we got enough in the early stages of the pipeline that we can continue to work on to build? Are we working on enough? And how long have those opportunities been kind of at the stages before they're ready to close, or in those final stages of getting ready to convert into being a live opportunity? And if it's sort of sitting around too long in any of those working on kind of stages, that's where, as a sales leader, you really need to help through that team conversation, help a salesperson to crystallize their focus. And that will be around what they need to do to progress that opportunity along. And that's where you use the bench strength of the team to contribute to working on those opportunities, particularly the ones that you think could go into the ready to close stage. The other area to start any kind of pipeline conversation is on those ready to close opportunities, because that's money in the bank just waiting there. So again, using the bench strength of the sales team to really start to convert those is where I would always start my sales meeting, especially if it's on pipeline, is really on those ready to close opportunities, and looking at strategies, looking at what have we done? Is there anything that we've missed? How sold are all of the key stakeholders on this solution or proposal? Have I tested that out with them? What have they said is the value that's going to be delivered if this is successful? What's the upside for them? What's the upside for us? What do I need to do to win this? Have I priced it properly? Have I made sure that it's competitive, that it's going to be priced to win? And I don't mean by that, have we discounted that to the nth degree? I just mean, is it well, have we looked at the pricing in such a way that it's commercial? Because it needs to be commercial for us and it needs to be commercial for the client. So pipeline's a discipline that, when worked really well and when used properly, is definitely one of those tools of choice as a salesperson and as a sales leader I'd be using today, because we need more discipline in there. Which leads me on to point number 2, which is driving the process. Unfortunately, in the last 30 years, we've had a great economy. I say that unfortunately, not because it's not great to have a fantastic economy, because it is, and we've all benefited from that. But what happens to salespeople is they become really flabby. They become glorified order takers, and they also become customer service people. And that means that they're expecting the customer to do all of the hard work, and they become passive rather than proactive around creating opportunity. So digging it out, listening for it, identifying it, wedding belief to it, and then progressing that opportunity down the pipeline. Salespeople, in my observation, need to reinvestigate and reclaim the skill set of driving the process. It's not up to the customer to do that. It's up to us to do that. We need to create a need for working with us. We need to, and we do that by digging it out if we're not hearing it, or knowing what we're listening for, number 1. And 2, we need to embed belief. So we need to be directors of thinking. We need to be highly skilled in our communication. We need to be highly influential. If our message is going to get heard and then acted upon, we need to have those next level skills. And we need to make sure that we're shortening sales cycles rather than letting them blow out and then losing control of the opportunity that we've worked so hard to bring into the pipeline in the first place. So pipeline, we need to manage well first. Then we need to drive the process. So we need to make sure that every single time we catch up with the customer, we're not only moving it along the sales pipeline by building commitment, getting them to make decisions, getting timeframes around action, but we also need to be creating value every time we're catching up with the customer or prospect as well. So we've got pipeline, driving the process, and the third one is working on activity levels and technique. Many, many years ago, my biggest issue with a lot of salespeople was that they were relying too much on activity levels to get them their targets, and their technique was absolutely terrible. So the customer experience was awful. What I would say to that today is I'm not seeing either. I'm not seeing people doing enough activity, nor am I seeing high levels of technique being employed. And that's really scary, because we actually need salespeople to be doing both right now. We have the toughest economic conditions in this country, according to Deloitte Access Economics report from November last year, 2023. According to that report, we've got the toughest economic conditions that we've had since the early 1990s, which was recession. And we're in a per capita recession, if we want to get technical about it. In today's market, we need to have salespeople that are doing both, so that they're doing higher levels of activity, because they're going to need to work the numbers in order to grow, certainly market share, number 1. And number 2 is that they also need to work on their technique so that the people that they're actually meeting with take action. And if they're not working both of those levers in their sales repertoire, they're really going to be leaving opportunity on the table, letting their sales cycles blow out, and losing a lot of market share to competitors who have got their together. So if I was in sales or sales leadership right now, they're the three things that I would be focusing my team on or myself on. And when I say in sales, if you're a consultant, this applies just as much to you and to the activity that you take, because you're the sales team and you're probably your own sales leader. So you need to make sure that you're working your own pipeline and you're disciplined about keeping yourself focused on the things that are going to get you the highest return.